Lin Xuanyu has never been a peaceful host since he was a child. The children in the mountain village like to follow him to run around the mountains, pick up wild fruits and catch mountain chickens, and their lives are very wild. He was only 15 years old that year, and he had not completely pulled the ball, and there was a stubborn and unconvincing tyrant on his face. His family is in a small mountain village near the Jiuxiao mainland, called Qingxili. It is surrounded by undesolate mountains and forests. Although his spirit is not heavy, it has also nurtured many low-level spirit beasts. People in the village make a living by catching and taking medicine. Occasionally, some immortal practitioners pass by, and the villagers only dare to watch from afar. Even if they are angry, they dare not breathe. That morning, the sky was not yet bright, and Lin Xuanyu carried a broken iron bow and a shiny hatchet at his waist, ready to enter the mountain. His mother was talking to him at the door, and she hadn't finished talking. "Xuanyu, these Tianshan mountains are not in opposition. Did you hear a lot of money? Don't run deeper. Did you hear it?" Lin Xuanyu grinned and showed his two tiger teeth. "Mom, don't worry, I have a sense of contentment. I will turn around the mountain and come back, and I will bring you a hare to the soup." After saying that, he dribbled into the forest without looking back. The mountains and forests of Qingxili are as dense as mazes, with many shadows. Occasionally, birds pass through the forest, with a few distinct tranquility. Lin Xuanyu walked lightly and walked along the familiar path towards the mountainside, his eyes swept around, looking for traces of the pit. He grew up in the mountains since he was young, and he could see the temper of this forest clearly. He knew the smell of the wild pigs. There was a bit of evil today. I walked for most of the time. Don't say wild pigs, even a rabbit didn't see it. Strange, what's going on? Could it be that a big guy really scared the little beast away? Lin Xuanyu muttered, his eyebrows arose. He was about to walk a few more steps deeper. Suddenly he heard a low roar from the distance, as if something was slamming, and there was still a bit of pain in the sound. He tightened his heart, held the hatchet tightly, and touched his hands and feet in the direction of the sound. Through a thorny thorn, Lin Xuanyu finally saw the scene ahead. It was a small open space, with charred marks on the ground, as if burned by fire. In the middle, there was a large beast shadow, red, covered with flame-like armor, and a pair of curved sharp corners on the top, looking like a Qilin in the veil. However, this Qilin was obviously seriously injured. His body was torn apart for several parts, blood flowing all over the ground, and his breathing was faint. Its golden pupils were half closed, revealing a proud and lonely look. Lin Xuanyu sallied, his heart beat like a drum. Although he had never seen the real spirit beast, the old man in the village had told many stories, saying that there were huge beasts hidden deep in the mountains that could spit out fire and thunder, and could smash a small hill with just one claw. This red giant beast is probably the kind of existence in the tradition. He instinctively wanted to fall and ran away, but the foot seemed to have roots, and he couldn't move a step. Because the huge eyes, although they were weak, they were filled with a tragedy that they could not say, as if they were asking for help, and as if they were disdaining his cowardice. "Damn, I'm afraid of being a bullshit. It's so cruel, can I still eat it?" Lin Xuanyu gritted his teeth and walked closer with his head. He squatted down carefully, tried to reach out and said lightly, "Hey, big guy, are you still alive? Don't move, I won't harm you." The giant beast seemed to understand what he said, raised his head slightly. Jin Tong stared at him, and let out a low growl, like a warning, or as if he was powerless to resist. Only then did Lin Xuanyu notice that a huge stone was pressed under the giant beast, and there was blood on its edge. It was probably because someone used some means to hurt him. He was shocked and secretly said, "Whoever is so cruel, even such a god dares to attack." Without thinking much, he put down his bow and arrow, and pushed the huge rock with both hands. The stone head was dead. He was not so strong as a 15-year-old boy. He was sweating heavily and his face was red. He didn't move a little. "You'll be sad, I'll think about it again." Lin Xuanyu gasped, wiped his sweat, and turned around to find something that could pry the stone. The giant beast looked at his busy work, and there was a strange light flashing in his golden eyes. It seemed that he didn't expect that this thin human boy would pay such a big robber to save it. At this moment, a rapid stomp sound suddenly came from far away, accompanied by a few sneers. "Hey, that Chi Yan Tianlin is indeed not dead yet. Brothers, please solve it quickly and go back and hand in the job." Lin Xuanyu's heart collapsed, tightly retracted into the thorns, holding his breath and looking out. Only 5 or 6 men in black robes walked over. Each of them had a jade plaque with strange runes engraved on their waists, holding a long spear and magic weapon in their hands, and a heavy killing atmosphere radiated from their bodies. The man in the head was full of flesh and greed, and he laughed. "This red flame Tianlin is an ancient blood vein. Although it has only half a life left, its inner elixir and elixir are worth a lot of money. I'm making a fortune this time. Boss, I just heard that there was a silence here. Will anyone take the lead?" Another thin man looked around vigilantly, and his hand was already pressed on the magic weapon at his waist. "Humph, who dares to snatch my treasure? This mountain has been covered by us for a long time. Whoever he is, he will be slaughtered when he sees it." The boss snorted coldly and walked towards the giant beast with a long spear. Lin Xuanyu hid in the thorns, and was shocked when he heard it. Although he was young, he also understood that this help was not a good thing, and it was probably a military force that specialized in killing the spirit. He held the hatchet tightly, his palms were covered in sweat, and his brain was flying quickly. Run? It must be too late. There are many people on the other side, and a magic weapon can make him a squid. Don't run? His eyes were scattered as he watched the huge beast being slaughtered, and he couldn't get over this hurdle in his heart. Just as he was hesitating, the red flame Tianlin suddenly let out a low voice, although he was weak, with an unyielding anger. It thrust and raised its head, and the remaining flames on its body lit up slightly, as if it was accumulating strength to make its last try. Lin Xuanyu looked at its golden eyes and felt inexplicably sad, as if he was hit hard by something. He gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, "I'm going to do my best today. Who are you afraid of?" Speaking of the moment, he suddenly pulled out of the thorn, picked up the iron bow on the ground, and shot the man in black robe with an arrow. Although the arrows had little strength, they at least attracted the attention of the other party. The boss was stunned and immediately laughed. "Where's the hairy boy? You dare to hurt me? You are looking for death." He swept his hand and a black light shot out from the magic weapon and headed straight for Lin Xuanyu. Lin Xuanyu never saw such a battle. He crawled around and hid, and the black light brushed his shoulders and smashed it on the ground and exploded a small pit. He was scared and sweating, but he still felt a little nervous. What's the ability to bully the injured beast like you? What's the point of bullying the wounded one? There's something to impulse me. He shouted so loudly that it made the other party stunned for a moment. "Okay, kid is quite a bit of a kind. Okay, I will kill you first and then take the inner pill of this beast." The boss sneered, and he was about to move when he lifted the long spear. But at this moment, Chi Yan Tianlin suddenly burst out with a shocking roar. The flames on his body suddenly ignited, forming a firewall, forcing the man in black to retreat a few steps. Lin Xuanyu took advantage of the trouble and pushed the huge rock hard with both hands. I don't know where the force comes from this time, but he actually moved the stone a little. Chi Yan Tianlin shook his body and stood up reluctantly. Although the injury was not damaged, his energy recovered a little. It looked down at Lin Xuanyu, with a complex feeling in its golden eyes. It immediately turned around and roared at the man in black robe, and the flames stormed again. "No, this beast can still resist, retreat quickly." The boss saw that the action was not good, and he took his subordinates to retreat, and then disappeared into the forest. Lin Xuanyu relaxed his voice and sat on the ground, as if his body had been hollowed out. He looked at the big red flame Tianlin beside him, and his heart was filled with sense. "Big guy, I've just given you more, otherwise I'll lose my life. How can you still hold on?" Chi Yan Tianlin ignored him, just lowered his head and licked his wound, and the flames on his body gradually dimmed. It seemed to have exhausted the last burst of force, and its body tilted and fell to the ground again. Lin Xuanyu felt a little nervous when he looked at it as weak. He took out the water bag from his mouth, carefully poured some water on his mouth, and murmured, "You drink some first, don't die, I'll try to save you." But before he could finish speaking, Chi Yan Tianlin suddenly raised his head and let out a low voice, as if he had made some decision. The next second, its golden pupils suddenly lit up, and a hot light hit Lin Xuanyu's eyebrows. He could only feel a buzzing sound in his brain, as if he was being forced into something, and then a pain came, and he fainted. When Lin Xuanyu woke up again, the sky had already darkened. He rubbed his painful brain and found that he was still lying in the open space. The red flame Tianlin next to him was looking at him with a strange look. He was shocked in his heart and hurriedly got up. Are you fine? What happened just now? Why am I? Chi Yan Tianlin didn't say anything, but just lowered his head and raised his chest lightly with his horn. Only then did Lin Xuanyu realize that there was a faint flame map on his chest, as if it had been branded, and it was filled with heat. A low voice suddenly appeared in his brain, carrying a few proud points. "Human boy, I am the red flame Heavenly Lin. I bear your grace to save you and make a spiritual contract with you. From then on, my life and death will be shared with you." Lin Xuanyu was stunned for a moment and reacted for a long time. What? Contract? It's the kind of thing that cultivators and spirit beasts have to work together? How can I do it? I'm a mountain village boy. Although he had heard the statement of the Spirit King's contract, he never thought that such a thing would fall on himself. After all, it is in the great land of Nine Sky. The way of contract is a territory that only high-ranking immortals can touch, and ordinary people cannot even get involved. Chi Yan Tianlin snorted coldly, and the sound came directly into his brain. "Humph, I have a reason for choosing you. You have a bloody breath in your body. Although you haven't woken up, your potential is limitless. I'm not only chasing you, but also for a way to rebirth. If you don't want to, I can terminate the contract immediately, but you will suffer the pain of backlash, hurt you hard, and kill you." Lin Xuanyu's mouth twitched when he heard it. He secretly called this guy so straightforward. Can't he agree without answering it? He lowered his head and looked at the flame map on his chest, then at Chi Yan Tianlin's unquestionable golden eyes, and finally gritted his teeth and pointed. "Okay, the contract is a contract, I won't eat it anyway. But let's talk about it first. You have to listen to me, otherwise I will not care about your ancient blood veins and just take you as a big dog." Chi Yan Tianlin was almost blown out by his words, but he finally didn't respond. He just roared lowly, which was considered to be acknowledging the relationship. Lin Xuanyu grinned and patted his brain. "That's it. We will be brothers on the boat in the future. Let's go back to the village first, and I'll find you some food and I'll say it after all." But he had not taken a few steps yet, and a rapid sound of breaking through the sky suddenly came from the mountains and forests far away, as if someone was approaching quickly. Chi Yan Tianlin suddenly raised his head, and the flames on his body ignited again, and he warned in a low voice, "Be careful, someone is coming, his breath is not weak, I may be coming to me." Lin Xuanyu's heart tightened, held the hatchet, and looked around. Although he had just gotten into a relationship with this big gang, he also understood that once the matter of the spiritual deed was passed on, it would definitely cause trouble. Sure enough, a moment later, a cold voice echoed from the forest. "Who is good at bluestone and dares to make a contract with the spirit beast? Show up quickly, otherwise don't blame me for being heartless." Lin Xuanyu felt numb when he heard this, and thought that he might have kicked the iron plate this time. He said to Chi Yan Tianlin in a low voice, "Big guy, can we beat him? If you don't have it, run away first, and keep the Green Mountains and there is no fear of no firewood." Chi Yan Tianlin just snorted coldly, stood in front of him, and took out a sturdy stance, and obviously did not intend to retreat. At this moment, a figure walked out of the forest. It was a young man in his 20s, wearing a moon-white robe, with a delicate jade plaque hanging around his waist, and a high sneer on his face. He glanced at Lin Xuanyu, and then his eyes were locked on Chi Yan Tianlin, and a greedy look flashed in his eyes. "Chi Yan Tianlin? It's indeed an ancient blood womb. I didn't expect that such a treasure would be encountered in such a remote place. Boy, this spirit womb is not something you can kill. If you hand over the contract seal, I will give you your life. When Lin Xuanyu heard this, the fire came up from the ground. Although he didn't know who the other party was, he looked at this battle and was probably from the people from the contract sect, who came to kill the spirit. He sneered and slapped in front of Chi Yan Tianlin. I want to kill my brother. I don't even have any doors. If you have the ability, try to see who are afraid of who. The young man who called himself I heard Lin Xuanyu's words, and the sneer on his face became even more intense, as if he had heard a huge joke. He slapped his hand lightly, and a faint light lit up from the jade plaque on his waist. Then a giant wolf with a blue and black body walked out from behind him. There was a light in his eyes, and his claws stepped on the ground and showed a low and humid atmosphere. When Lin Xuanyu saw this move, his heart was bulging, but his mouth was still very hard. Bringing a big dog to scare people? I won't take this trick. The young man snorted coldly and stopped talking. He pointed the jade plaque with his fingers. The giant wolf suddenly let out a low growl and swung towards Lin Xuanyu. The speed was as fast as a black shadow. Lin Xuanyu had no time to react. He was about to be knocked down. Chi Yan Tianlin suddenly roared, and the flame shadow on his body suddenly ignited, and he forced himself to move in front of Lin Xuanyu, colliding with the giant wolf. The impact of the two spirit beasts caused a wave of air, shaking the trees around them. Lin Xuanyu was stumbled by this force, and almost fell a dog to bite the mud. Be careful, this guy is from the Tsong sect. His cultivation is not low, and his spirit is not good. Chi Yan Tianlin's voice sounded in Lin Xuanyu's brain, bringing some rapidity. Lin Xuanyu gritted his teeth, held the hatchet tightly, stared at the young man with his eyes flying in his heart and wondered how to remove himself. Although he was stubborn, he also knew that his 3-foot cat skills were not the opponent's opponent at all. Chi Yan Tianlin was injured again, so he would definitely be able to fight hard. The young man saw that Chi Yan Tianlin could still resist, and there was a flash of surprise in his eyes, but he immediately sneered, "It is worthy of being an ancient blood selves. He is still fighting so hard. However, the dead spirit beast dares to show off in front of me? Take it down." He slapped his hand, and the giant wolf roared and slapped again, with black lights under his claws. His air was even more fierce than before. Lin Xuanyu felt a choking feeling as Chi Yan Tianlin looked at the way he was reluctant to support him. He knew that if he dragged on, both of them had to explain it here, so he gritted his teeth and said to Chi Yan Tianlin in a low voice, "Big guy, let's run away, keep the green mountains and don't be afraid of no firewood." Although Chi Yan Tianlin was unwilling to accept it, he also understood that he was in a state of strength. He glared at the young man fiercely, then roared, and the flames on his body stormed, forming a firewall, and temporarily forced the giant wolf to retreat. "Let's go!" Lin Xuanyu took advantage of this gap and turned around and ran deep into the dense forest. Chi Yan Tianlin followed him tightly. Although his steps were a little scattered, his speed was still not slow. The young man saw that they were about to escape and sneered, "Want to run? It's not that easy." He stumbled down, and the whole person chased after him like a ghost. The giant wolf behind him also roared and followed, with a shocking speed. Lin Xuanyu ran wildly in the forest, and his feet were covered with bloodstains by thorns, and his heartbeat was as if it was about to explode. Although he was familiar with the terrain of King Shili, his cultivation was profound and his breath was locked in him and he couldn't get rid of it. Seeing the sound of breaking the air behind him getting closer and closer, a sudden light flashed in his brain and suddenly rushed towards a steep slope. He often went to play in that place when he was a child. Below is a secret cave. The entrance of the cave is narrow and can barely allow one person to pass through. Go in. He drew into the cave. Chi Yan Tianlin hesitated for a moment, and reluctantly stood up and followed in. The cave was pitch black, the air was damp and there was a fishy smell that could not be described. Lin Xuanyu held his breath, hid behind a large stone at the entrance of the cave, and heard the silence outside. The young man's voice came quickly, with a few impatient points. Boy is quite good at hiding, searching for me, and digging 3 feet into the ground to find him. Lin Xuanyu's heart was tightened, and his hands holding the hatchet were shaking. He said to Chi Yan Tianlin in a low voice, "Big guy, how long can we last? This place can't be hidden for too long." Chi Yan Tianlin growled, and his voice was filled with fatigue. "I have not been injured, and my strength is less than 30%. If I fight hard, I may not escape unsuccessfully. Do you have other ways?" Lin Xuanyu gritted his teeth and his brain flew quickly. He suddenly remembered the story told by the old man in the village, saying that there was a secret path leading to the outer mountains deep in the Bluestone. It was used by people in the village when they fled the famine that year, and very few people knew about it. He said in a low voice, "There is a place that may be able to get rid of them, but you have to take risks. Can you hold on?" Chi Yan Tianlin's golden eyes flashed and pointed a little, clearly trusting his decision. While the helper outside was still searching, Lin Xuanyu took the red flame Tianlin and touched it out from the other end of the cave, running towards the deep mountains in the direction in the memory. The night became more and more dense, and the smoke was everywhere in the forest, which was extremely low. Lin Xuanyu walked straight to the road, and several times he almost stepped on the air and fell off the cliff. Although Chi Yan Tianlin was seriously injured, he was still beside him. Occasionally, he used flames to illuminate the way forward, and the two of them cooperated with each other to be a tacit understanding. After running for the middle of the night, Lin Xuanyu finally found the path in his memory. It was a path hidden by the cliff. It was so narrow that it could only pass through the side. Below was a deep purity of thousands of feet below. He wiped his sweat and said to Chi Yan Tianlin, "That's it. I should be able to get rid of them in the past, but can you get through the shape, can you get through?" Chi Yan Tianlin lowered his head and looked at the narrow road, then looked deep and hummed, "I have my own way, don't underestimate me." After speaking, the flames on its body flashed, and its body size was reduced a little, and it was barely able to pass the path. Lin Xuanyu was stunned and thought to himself that the spirit beast was indeed not simple, and he stopped talking and carefully led the way. The two people moved around the cliff, shouting, and gravel under their feet slipped down from time to time, which made people's hearts amazed. After finally crossing the path, Lin Xuanyu relaxed his breath and sat on the ground, panting like a dog. It should be thrown away, right? He wiped his sweat and turned to look at Chi Yan Tianlin. He found that its wound had cracked again, blood dripped on the ground, and his breath became weaker and weaker. He felt nervous, and he quickly tore off the corner of his clothes to help it wrap, and said in a low voice, "If you hurt me again, I will take you to find a safe place to take care of it. Don't be too stubborn." Chi Yan Tianlin growled, and there was a bit of stubbornness in his voice, "I am an ancient bloody man, will I fall down easily? But it is not suitable to stay here for a long time. If the person's cultivation is not low, there may be some tricks to follow. We need to leave the Bluestone as quickly as possible." Lin Xuanyu pointed a little, and knew in his heart that he had been found here. The only way out is to leave his hometown and go to a more extensive place to seek shelter. At this moment, a low voice suddenly came from afar, as if someone was calling out, "Lin Xuanyu, is it here? I'm Yun, I have something to discuss with you." This voice was full of atmosphere, without any sense of being enemies. Lin Xuanyu was stunned and recalled quickly in his brain, but he couldn't remember the person in the village. He asked Chi Yan Tianlin in a low voice, "Who is this old man? He doesn't feel like a bad person, but can we believe it?" Chi Yan Tianlin closed his eyes and felt a little, and said slowly, "This person's cultivation is unpredictable, his atmosphere is calm, and he should be malicious. But be careful, we should first observe his intentions. If there is anything wrong, retreat immediately." Lin Xuanyu clicked a little, held the hatchet, and shouted in the direction of the sound, "Old man, I'm here. Tell me if you have anything to do, just say it. I don't like to bend and beat around." A moment later, an old man in a gray robe walked out of the forest, with a hairy boy in his hand, and an indescribable force radiating on his body, but his eyes were very gentle. He glanced at Lin Xuanyu and Chi Yan Tianlin and smiled slightly. "It's indeed a contract blood rush. He has reached a contract with Chi Yan Tianlin. Boy, you are so crazy. I have lived in the mountains for a long time and heard that the Bluestone Ridge is strange. I came to check it out, but I didn't expect to meet you. Lin Xuanyu heard a fog, but looking at the other party's stance, it shouldn't be a slaughter. He snatched his head and tried to ask, Yun, what are you asking me for? In fact, I'm hilarious now, but I don't have time to chat with anyone. Yunjinren laughed and slammed his hand. Boy, don't be nervous, I'm not malicious. On the contrary, I see that you have a unique talent and the blood potential of contract is infinite, so I will point you to a clear path. If you wish, you can go with me to the deep impurity of the beast to cultivate the way of contract. Otherwise, with your current ability, it may be difficult for the next wave. All the beasts are deep and purified? Lin Xuanyu's eyes lit up when he heard it, and he was a little confused. He heard the old man in the village say that the place was a forbidden area around the great land of Jiuxiao, and there were countless giant beasts hidden in it. Even the immortals who went in would die for a lifetime. He hesitated for a moment and asked, Foreign, what do you mean by the test? I am just a mountain village boy and I don't know anything. Isn't going to that place to seek death? Yunjinren was beaten up and said, Boy, the blood of the contract is not an ordinary talent. It is both a trick and a disaster. If you don't learn to control this power, you will be backfired by it, let alone those of the congregation sect, and you will never let you go. Although the deep impurity of the beast is fierce, it is also the only opportunity for you to grow. I can help you, but you have to walk the final path yourself. Lin Xuanyu felt very confused in his heart, but he also understood that the other party had to make sense. He lowered his head and looked at the red flame Tianlin. He saw it slightly, as if he had agreed with this proposal, so he gritted his teeth and said, Okay, I believe you once. But let's talk first. I'm not going to die, you have to guarantee that I can come back alive. Yun Wang smiled and pointed his head a little. Then the sleeve robe flapped, and a soft light covered Lin Xuanyu and Chi Yan Tianlin, instantly leading them away from their place. Lin Xuanyu only felt a flash in front of him. When he was slimming his eyes, he was already standing in front of a deserted valley. There was no black smoke far away, and the deep roar was hidden, like the entrance to the ground. He saliva and his heart slammed. Is this the deep impurity of the beast? Why are you so angry? Yunjinren patted his shoulder, and his language encouraged him a few points. Boy, what are you afraid of? With me here, you can guarantee that you will not die. There are countless spiritual beasts hidden in the deep impurity of the beasts, and there are also chapters of the ancient method of contract. If you can pass the test, you will not only improve your cultivation, but also may reveal the secret of contracting blood. Go, Chi Yan Tianlin will protect you, I will keep you outside and accept it at any time. Although Lin Xuanyu was scared, he also knew that this was the only way. He took a deep breath, patted Chi Yan Tianlin's brain, and said in a low voice, Big guy, we have to fight on our shoulders again, don't let me down. Chi Yan Tianlin growled, and the intention of fighting was ignited in his golden eyes, and it was obviously ready. The two of them stepped into the deep and deep purple of the beasts and one of the animals, and the smoke quickly swallowed their figures. The deep and pure inside is even more dissatisfied than Lin Xuanyu imagined. The air is filled with a heavy fishy atmosphere, and the rotten soil is under the feet. Occasionally, you can hear the low growl coming from afar, as if countless eyes are judging in the dark. He held the hatchet and walked forward carefully. Chi Yan Tianlin was guarding him. The flames on his body were always bright and dark, and he was ready to face the sudden situation at any time. Not long after walking, a deep roar suddenly came from the front, and a big black bear was blown out of the smoke, its hair rising like a steel flare, and its eyes were filled with a red light. Lin Xuanyu felt nervous, and he quickly stepped back a few steps, and said in a low voice, Big guy, this thing is not easy to mess with. Can we sway over? Chi Yan Tianlin snorted coldly and directly met, This beast is not as low-level spirit beast, there is no need to be afraid, fight with me. After saying that, the flames stormed up, colliding with the black bear. Although Lin Xuanyu had no fighting power, he was not idle either. He picked up the hatchet to find a chance to steal it, and he often chopped the black bear a few times. Although you can't hurt the root cause, you can at least be distracted by the other party. After a few rounds, the black bear was finally slapped by Chi Yan Tianlin with one claw, and fell heavily to the ground, making a sound of sorrow. Lin Xuanyu wiped his sweat and grinned. "It's not bad, big guy, you can still beat me so much, I'll give you a win." Chi Yan Tianlin snorted, obviously disdaining his award, but there was still a warm feeling in the golden pupil. At this moment, the black bear suddenly stood up and let out a low growl, as if it was before death. Lin Xuanyu was stunned. Without reacting, a strange light suddenly lit up on the black bear's body, and then a strong thought penetrated his brain. "Human, contracts me, helps me get sleepy." This sound continued, with no exhaustion and desire. Lin Xuanyu was stunned for a moment and turned to Chi Yan Tianlin. Does this guy want to join me? What's going on? Isn't the contract you have decided on?" Chi Yan Tianlin growled and explained, "The spirits in the deep and purified beasts are very spiritual. If it takes the initiative to ask for a contract, it means that you have recognized your blood power. If you are willing, you can try to tie it, but be careful of backlash." Lin Xuanyu hesitated for a moment, looked at the black bear's eyes full of begging, and gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, I'm soft, I'll help you." He closed his eyes and concentrated his mind according to Chi Yan Tianlin's guidance, connected his thoughts with the black bear. In an instant, a sensational pain came from the middle of his eyebrows, as if his brain was torn apart, and he almost passed by directly. Fortunately, the process did not last long. After a while, another faint bear-shaped gaze appeared on his chest, which was arranged with the flame gaze. The black bear also stood up slowly at this time, and the injuries seemed to recover a little. He lowered his head and let out a low growl at Lin Xuanyu, as if to express surrender. Lin Xuanyu gasped, wiped his sweat, and grinned, "It's done. You will be my second brother in the future. Don't give me and lose your face." The black bear snorted, as if he had understood what he said, and stood obediently behind him. With this black bear joining, Lin Xuanyu's confidence increased greatly, and he continued to penetrate the deep and deep purple of the beast with 2 spirit beasts. In the next few days, he encountered many low-level spirits, some of which started directly, and some took the initiative to ask for a contract, which made his chest more and more pictures, and his cultivation improved a little. Although he was as tired as a dog, he had a happy heart and thought that this contract blood was indeed a good thing. However, the dangers of the deep and purity of thousands of animals are far beyond these. Just as he gradually tried to get the rhythm of the test, a familiar sneer suddenly came from far away. "Lin Xuanyu, I didn't expect you to really dare to come to this ghost place, but it saved me a lot of effort." As soon as this sound came out, Lin Xuanyu's heart was overwhelmed. When he turned around, he saw a familiar figure walking out of the mist. It was Han, the young man who had chased him in Qingshili before. There were 3 spirit beasts next to Han, each of which was astonishing as he surpassed Lin Xuanyu's black bear. He smiled coldly, his fingers lightly with jade tokens, his words filled with murder. "Boy, your contract blood is up, I will decide. Hand over Chi Yan Tianlin, otherwise today will be your death." Lin Xuanyu heard the fire, held the hatchet, and slapped in front of Chi Yan Tianlin. "Want to kill my brother? Be a dream. If you have the ability to try, I am not afraid of you." The two of them confronted each other, and the atmosphere suddenly became extremely tight, and the battle started as soon as it touched. In the deep and purified fog of thousands of beasts, more spiritual roars were hidden, as if they were predicting that a bigger storm was about to come. Lin Xuanyu stood in the deep and purified fog of the beast, his hand holding the hatchet trembled slightly, and his eyes were staring at Han opposite him. There was a bit of fishy atmosphere hidden in the smoke, and low growlings around him were heard one after another, as if some big guys would come out at any time. The red flame Tianlin behind him whispered, and the flames on his body lit up slightly. Although the wound was not damaged, his energy was not weak. The black bear next to him and several other contract spirits also surrounded him, making uneasy growls, guarding Lin Xuanyu. Han sneered coldly, the long robe of Yuebai was particularly eye-catching in the mist. The 3 spirit beasts beside him were so powerful, one with a giant blue-black wolf, one with 2 poisonous dragons, and one with a giant rhinoceros full of bone spurs. Each of them was suffocating and suffocating. He snatched his hand lightly, and the jade plaque was filled with slander. His lingering words were filled with contempt. Lin Xuanyu, you are just a wild boy from a mountain village. With the contract blood, you have collected several broken spirits and dared to call me in front of me? Today I want to see how many rounds you can sweep. Lin Xuanyu heard the fire and rushed upwards, gritted his teeth and replied, stop talking. If you want to kill my brother, please ask me if I can answer this knife first. Although he was stubborn, he knew in his heart that Murong Han, a fellow practitioner, had been taller than him, and the spirits on his body were even more despicable. If he fought hard, he would never have any good results. But he has been stubborn since he was a child. Mingke stood still and wanted to kneel down and beg for help. He simply put his heart on his mind and prepared to fight with the other party to kill him. Chi Yan Tianlin seemed to feel his determination, and roared, which directly sounded in his brain, boy, although my injury is serious, I can fight with all my strength. You just need to hold on to that person and hand over the remaining spirits to us. Lin Xuanyu pointed a little, held the hatchet, and said in a low voice, okay, we'll fight head-on, who are you afraid of? As the voice fell, Murong Han waved his hand, and the blue-black giant wolf took the lead and rushed up, as fast as a black shadow, carrying cold light under his claws and headed straight for Lin Xuanyu's throat. Lin Xuanyu's heart was tightened, and he quickly flashed his body. The hatchet slashed at the giant wolf's belly. He could only hear a clang sound, and the blade seemed to slash on the iron plate, which made his tiger's mouth numb. The giant wolf roared and slapped him with his claws. His strength was amazing. He directly slapped him for several feet and threw him heavily to the ground. Damn, is this skin so thick? Lin Xuanyu got up, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and felt that his 5 internal organs were almost shattered. He was not breathing yet, and his 2 poisonous dragons also joined the war. The green poisonous fog was sprayed from his bloody mouths. As soon as the fog touched the ground, it made a sizzling sound, forcing Lin Xuanyu to retreat. At the same time, the spirit beasts such as Chi Yan Tianlin and Black Bear also faced Murong Han's giant rhino, and they bit and collided with each other. The flames and bone spurs intertwined, and the battle scene instantly formed a group. Lin Xuanyu gritted his teeth and his brain flew quickly. He knew that he was not strong enough, and fighting hard would only drag his back. The only way was to find a chance to steal Murong Han himself and force him to be distracted. As long as the other party shows a break, Chi Yan Tianlin and others may be able to reverse the situation. He looked at the time, and while the poisonous fog was slightly dissipated, he rushed towards Murong Han, and the hatchet slashed straight into the other party's chest with all his strength. Murong Han saw him coming, and a sneer came out of the corner of his mouth. With a swipe, an invisible wave directly lifted Lin Xuanyu away. The hatchet took his hand and penetrated into the soil next to him. He snorted coldly, over bile overestimation. Just beg your tiny little Taoist practice, and you want to hurt me? Kneel down. As he said, he moved his fingers, and a black light lit up at the jade plaque, which shot straight into Lin Xuanyu's eyebrows. Lin Xuanyu only felt like he was stabbed in his brain. The pain made his knees soft and he almost fell to the ground. He gritted his teeth and tried to hold back and did not fall down. The rapid voice of Chi Yan Tianlin suddenly erupted from the sea of brain, boy, calm your mind. This is a contract forbidden art, specializing in the soul. If controlled, we are all in danger. Lin Xuanyu felt his heart sank and gathered his mind. The flame gaze in his chest suddenly lit up, and a hot force stormed into his limbs and forced the black light to retreat for a few points. Murong Han saw the situation and saw an unexpected flash in his eyes. Oh? Can you still resist? It's worthy of being a contract blood, and it's true that it's a little bit. However, slaughtering is just a pupil. His hand changed, and the black light became stronger. At the same time, the 3 spirit beasts beside him became more and more fierce. Chi Yan Tianlin and the others gradually fell into the lower wind, with scars on their bodies. Lin Xuanyu felt that he was almost limiting and his vision was becoming blurred, but the unwilling affair in his heart became stronger and stronger. He suddenly remembered that Yunjinren taught him the secret method of contract, saying that the way of contract is not only a combination of strength, but also a communion of hearts. If you can achieve true equal contact with the spirit beast, you can break through the limit of blood and wake up the power of sleeping. He bit his tongue, used the pain to make himself awake, and growled, "Brothers, we are on the same boat, who should not give up?" As soon as this came out, all the pictures on his chest lit up at the same time. The spirits such as Chi Yan Tianlin and Black Bear seemed to feel his will, and they roared and an unprecedented atmosphere emanated from their bodies. The golden eyes of the red flame Heavenly Lin lit up suddenly, and the flames on his body stormed, forming a shadow of an ancient unicorn, and its vigor was approaching Muronghan's spirit. The Black Bear and other spirit beasts seemed to have been ignited, and they forced themselves to take the opponent's attack and began to fight back. Muronghan's face finally changed, and he gritted his teeth and said, "How is that possible? A hairy boy can awaken the ancient blood of the spirit? No, he can never let him grow." He turned his hand and took out a broken stone tablet from his sleeve, which was engraved with strange runes, emitting an ominous breath. He chanted the mantra in a low voice, and the stone tablet shone brightly, and the smoke around him suddenly boiled, as if he was being led by something, rushing towards the stone tablet. When Lin Xuanyu saw this move, he felt nervous and thought that this guy was probably using some big moves. He couldn't think too much, so he forced himself to rush to Muronghan, and shouted, "Big guy, don't let him make any trouble and put it on me." Chi Yan Tianlin growled, and took other spirits to snatch Muronghan without hesitation, trying to stop his spell casting. But it was still one step late. The steel's light reached its top, and a huge shadow rose from the middle. It was a magical beast with a black body, shaped like a giant dragon, with countless touching hands, and the light of augur flashed in its eyes, which was so terrifying that it was suffocating. Muronghan laughed wildly, his voice filled with crazy, "Lin Xuanyu, this is the power of the slang sky map of thousands of beasts. The awakened ancient demon beast is enough to crush everything. Today, you and your spirit beast must be buried here." Lin Xuanyu looked at the demon beast and felt a silence in his heart. Although he had never seen the map of the sky, he also heard that Yunwang mentioned that this thing was the supreme treasure of the way of contract, and the power of the seal inside was enough to cause a catastrophe of heaven and earth. Although this magical beast is just a waking up video, his aura is so strong that he almost loses his mind to resist. At this moment, a gentle sound suddenly came from a distance, "Xiaohan, stop. The power of the zodiac map is beyond your control. If you are confused again, it may lead to the second zodiac catastrophe." With the sound, a gray-robed figure walked out of the smoke, which was Yunlu's real person. He held a wooden stick and a strong and righteous atmosphere radiated from his body, which forced the demon's atmosphere. Muronghan saw the true man Yun, his face changed, and he gritted his teeth and said, "Old man, you have retreated long ago. What are you doing? This kid's bloody talent in contracting is amazing. If he doesn't get rid of it, he will soon threaten my status as the sect." The true man Yun defeated the head and said, "The way of contracting is the way of sharing the same honor for people and beasts. If you blindly pursue the sect, you have already gone astray. If you don't stop today, I can't save you." Lin Xuanyu was stunned for a moment when he heard this, but he didn't expect that these two people would still recognize them. He took advantage of Muronghan's distracting moment and said to Chi Yan Tianlin in a low voice, "Big guy, let's take advantage of the moment to give the demon a wave of ruthlessness, don't let it fully take shape." Chi Yan Tianlin pointed a little, and the flames on his body stormed again, and he carried other spirits toward the demon's shadow. At the same time, Yunwang's wooden stick was slapped, and a golden light curtain covered the battlefield, forcibly seizing the power of the demon. He turned his head and shouted to Lin Xuanyu, "Boy, the phantom of the zodiac map is the root of this demon. Stop it quickly, otherwise there will be no harm in the future." Lin Xuanyu heard it, his eyes locked on the stone tablet in Muronghan's hand, and gritted his teeth and knocked over. Muronghan saw the sage and roared angrily, looking for death. His jade plaque flashed, and the three spirit beasts rushed towards Lin Xuanyu at the same time, trying to intercept it. But Chi Yan Tianlin and the others kept silenced each other and forced a way for Lin Xuanyu. He took the opportunity to attack Morong Han and punched the stone tablet with all his strength. Morong Han didn't expect that he would really dare to get close to him. He was caught off guard and was knocked out of his hand. The stone tablet ran out and fell to the ground. "Broken it to me." Lin Xuanyu had red eyes, picked up the stone head on the ground and smashed it hard at the stone tablet. He heard a click sound, and a gap broke through the stone tablet. The magic shadow made a roar, and the air weakened instantly. Morong Han saw the sage, his face was blue and roared, "Lin Xuanyu, you dare to harm me for a big deal, I want you to die without a place to bury me." He urged to practice without regard for everything, and the jade plaque shone brightly, and the three-headed spirit beast seemed to be forced to get mad, and the attack became even more fierce. Lin Xuanyu was shocked by this breath and took several steps back, bleeding from the corners of his mouth, feeling that he could not hold back. At this moment, a soft light suddenly enveloped him, bringing a slight silence, allowing his chaotic soul to calm down in an instant. He turned around and saw that Yi Qingshuang had arrived at some point. He was holding a green spiritual staff in his hand, and healing power was radiating on his body. She shouted anxiously, "Xuanyu, don't be swearing, I'll help you." With the addition of Yi Qingshuang, Lin Xuanyu felt warm in his heart, as if he had found the backbone. He gritted his teeth and said, "Qingshuang, help me calm my soul, I'll send the stone tablet another." Yi Qingshuang pointed his head a little, and the light of the spiritual staff became even stronger. A gentle force kept rushing into Lin Xuanyu's body, helping him to resist the pain of the contract backfire. Lin Xuanyu took the opportunity to rush towards the stone tablet again. This time the ray of the pirate in his chest reached the top, and the power of Chi Yan Tianlin and others continued to gather. He growled, clenched his fists with both hands, and smashed hard on the crack of the stone tablet. He only heard a bang sound, the stone tablet shattered completely, and the magical shadow released the last sound of sorrow, turning into black smoke and dissipating without any trace. Morong Han saw the state, his face was as white as paper, as if he had been exhausted from all his energy. He gritted his teeth and stared at Lin Xuanyu, and said with hatred, "Boy, I have recorded the grudge of today. I will ask you to give it to me 100 times the day." After speaking, his figure flashed, and he quickly fled into the mist with his three spirit beasts, and his eyes disappeared without seeing him. Lin Xuanyu saw him run away, finally relaxed his voice, sat on the ground, and seemed to be falling apart. Yi Qingshuang hurried over and supported him, her words filled with grievances, "Xuanyu, are you okay? It's too dangerous just now, almost." Lin Xuanyu grinned and thrust his hand, "It's okay, I can't die. You can't come too late, otherwise I really have to explain this." Yunjinren also left at this time, and he pointed a little, and felt relieved in his language, "Boy, you did a good job. The power of the Wanzhou Tianzi is extraordinary. If you can destroy it, it is considered that the great land of Jiuxiao is a big problem. However, Morong Han is a bit arrogant. Although he is not today, he will not be willing to give up. You need to be more careful in the future." Lin Xuanyu heard a little, but he was not too scared. He lowered his head and looked at the picture on his chest, then at Chi Yan Tianlin and Yi Qingshuang beside him, and grinned, "What are you afraid of? With brothers here, I won't be worried about who comes. But, old man, what is this huge sky map? Why is it so evil?" Yunjinren sighed and said quietly, "The heavenly figure of the Wanzan is the supreme treasure of the ancient way of contract. It has recorded the origin and forbidden arts of thousands of animals in the world. Those who get it can make thousands of animals dominate the sky. But this power is too powerful, and if you are not careful, it will cause a catastrophe. The catastrophe of the Wanzan was caused by this. Now, the sky has been broken into countless pieces and scattered everywhere. If it is gathered by people with incorrect mental health, the consequences will be unbelievable." Lin Xuanyu was shocked when he heard this and thought to himself that this thing was indeed not a good thing. He hesitated for a moment and asked, "Then what does my contract blood have to do with the one zodiac picture?" Why did that guy have to stare at me? Yunjinren glanced at him and said, the contract blood is the inheritance of the ancient contractor, and it has a connection with the one zodiac picture. If your blood is completely awake, it may be able to see the true secret of the Tiantu, but it has become a target of the target. Morong Han wants to kill you and control the power of the Tiantu. Lin Xuanyu heard it so hard that he whispered, is this a burning potato? I wouldn't have made this mess if I had known it. Yi Qingshuang heard it and couldn't help laughing and patted his shoulder. Don't complain, Xuanyu, your blood is a trick that no one can ask for. As long as you use it well, it may not be a good thing. Yunjinren also pointed out and said, boy, the way to contract is not just the way to govern. The real contract is the equality and sharing between people and beasts. You can communicate with the spirits today, and awakening their strength is the best evidence. I suggest that you pass on this concept, which may open a new era for the great land of Jiuxiao. Lin Xuanyu was stunned by the hearing and immediately grinned, okay, old man, I have remembered you. However, I don't have any great ambitions. Now I want to go back to the village to see my mother first, and then think about how to spread this thing. He said, patted Chi Yan Tianlin's brain, and said in a low voice, big guy, our road is still long. Let's take a break first and continue to break the trench another day. Chi Yan Tianlin growled, and a warm feeling flashed in his golden eyes, as if he had recognized him. Yi Qingshuang smiled and pulled him up, speaking quickly, let's go back and have some care, and then think about where to go next. Jiuxiao mainland is so big, there are always more places waiting for us. Several people laughed and walked out of the deep purple of the beasts. The smoke behind them dissipated, revealing the long-lost sunlight. Lin Xuanyu looked at the faraway sky and felt inexplicably expecting in his heart, thinking that although this road is dangerous, with brothers here, he would not be alone no matter how he walked.